Today's episode will be a little bit different because it's very spontaneous. I got the idea to just sit down and talk to you after having a conversation with an entrepreneur who had to let go of half of his team overnight after he tried to scale his business. A lot of people think that to delegate means to abdicate, and that could not be further from the truth. Welcome to the show Built with VAs. I'm your host Valentina Brega, and in this show we talk about how we can scale our companies with the help of international virtual assistants, or even if you have a local team here, the information that you'll find on the show will be just as helpful because we talk about how to leverage other people's talent, time, and skills to grow our companies. So welcome here, and I can't wait to dive into today's topic. I got the idea to just sit down and talk to you after having a conversation with an entrepreneur who had to let go of half of his team overnight after he tried to scale his business. In one day, half of the team gone. And so we had to sit down and take the lessons learned from here and, the post-mortem, and maybe just get some good ideas of what needs to be avoided in the future. And we just had an overall very good conversation, and I wanted to share a couple of insights with you. So his idea was this: I wanted to scale my business, and for that I need to hire a lot of people, and people will take a lot of things, and I'm hiring experts so they will figure out things on their own. So instead of setting his team up for success, he hoped they would just figure it out on their own. And the result of that is more chaos, a huge setback, and a lot of disappointment. A lot of people think that to delegate means to abdicate, and that could not be further from the truth. Abdicating means you're tossing things off your plate and hoping that somebody else will figure it out, especially when you hire something out to experts. And yes, they might know how to do things better than you, but it doesn't mean you don't have any involvement in that. You don't never abdicate a responsibility. You still want to delegate it in a smart way. Because this idea of somebody else will figure it out more often leads to disappointment than to success. Hiring people is not going to solve all your problems. Doubling down on people is not guaranteed double productivity, but it does guarantee double the payroll. So actually hiring the wrong people can cost you a lot more than no hiring at all sometimes. So it's very important to know what person you hire to fix what problem in the company and at the right time. It has to be at the right time as well. And bringing people in the company is just one small piece of the puzzle. So we had this conversation and we thought, okay, what else could you have done differently? What was the problem? What was the issue? So here are a couple of things that we learned that I'm going to share with you how to make delegation more successful. Number one, you need to have a solid plan. So imagine if you're like sending someone on an unknown road versus sending someone on this unknown road with a GPS. Even though that person is the expert, even though they know how to do their craft, but if they don't have the GPS, if they don't have the structure, if they don't have the systems, if they don't know your processes, if they don't know your preferences, most likely this is going to lead to a failure and not to the result you're hoping for. So when you don't have the right strategies, the right system, the right processes, this is like filling up a car, but never doing engine checks or changing oils. And yeah, it will go for a while, but eventually it's going to break down. So everything you're delegating, it needs to be maintained. It needs to be nurtured. Number two is clear communication and checkpoints. When you hire someone, you don't need to babysit them, because if you do, that means that's not the right person. You as a business owner, you're not a micromanager. You don't have time to micromanage. You have to be the visionary. You have to understand where you're steering the ship rather than checking out how many hours and what everybody's doing at different, at every single minute during the working day. That's just not sustainable over the long run. So delegation doesn't mean dumping and dashing. It actually means putting together a system that allow you to stay in the loop, but without having to micromanage them. And how do you do that? You do that by setting milestones. So for example, a milestone could be when you hire someone, like, this is the result we have to achieve in 30 days, in 60 days, in 90 days, and so on. And how do you know what needs to be achieved in 30 days? Is because it comes from your vision. This is the vision. How do I make sure that the vision becomes a reality? Okay, you're gonna break it down into chunks. And those little chunks are the milestones. When you just let people figure out on their own, they don't know what's in your head. They don't know your vision. They don't know what needs to happen and at what point and by when. So make sure you have communicate with people, let them know why you're doing this, why this is important for you, what you're hoping to achieve, and then have milestones or checkpoints, what needs to happen by when, so just so you know you're on track. And number three that we discussed, and that was a big one, is KPIs, and not just any KPIs, but result-driven metrics. We don't care how many hours people worked. We care about efficiency and productivity, what was achieved during those hours. A lot of the times when you hire someone for a cheaper rate, for example, they may take so many hours to complete a task that somebody else could have done in a third of the time. So ultimately, someone more expensive can actually cost you less in the long run than hiring someone cheaper, but taking a long time. So don't focus on something that is like, the hourly rate or how many hours they work. So focus on results, focus on efficiency. And of course, communicate that with your team so they know what truly matters. So upon our conversation, we came to this conclusion that delegating without any roadmap, without a structure, it's random. It's a gamble. And you hope the odds are in your favor. But, house always wins. So you have to be strategic about that. So when you put the right systems in place, delegation is not a gamble, but it's a growth engine. And that's ultimately what this guy was hoping to achieve when he hired more people. He wanted to grow. He wanted to scale. Just a couple of lessons that we learned from this. You either earn or you learn. So yeah, that was a costly lesson, but very good information. And I just wanted to share that with you because next time you want to delegate a responsibility and you think, I don't have time to train someone, I don't have time to put into that person, they're experts, they'll figure it out. I just want you to remember this lesson and not be in the same situation because this works. Delegation works. Having the right people is crucial. Like I always say, it's not about whether this works or not. You just need to have the right person. So thank you so much for tuning in. I just wanted to bring you good value today and I hope I delivered. Let me know in the comments what you think about this, if I missed anything, what other lessons maybe you learned the hard way, so we can all learn from that. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time.